Welcome to Insights at the Edge, produced by Sounds True. My name's Tami Simon. I'm the founder of Sounds True, and I'd love to take a moment to introduce you to the Sounds True Foundation. The goal of the Sounds True Foundation is to provide access and eliminate financial barriers to transformational education and resources, such as teachings and trainings on mindfulness, emotional awareness, and self compassion. If you'd like to learn more and join with us in our efforts, please visit SoundsTrueFoundation.org. Welcome, friends, to this special edition of Insights at the Edge with someone known as the Iceman, and also someone I think of as a dear friend, both to me and Sounds True, Wim Hof, joining us from the Netherlands. Many people know Wim Hof because he's won 21 world records for amazing feats, such as spending 112 minutes in an ice bath and doing a half marathon above the Arctic Circle in bare feet. But let me tell you what impresses me the most about Wim. It's his heart vulnerability, his willingness to lead with his great love of life and his love of humanity, his infectious aliveness, and the fact that he's on a mission. He's on a mission to introduce as many people as possible to a method that he's developed with Sounds True. He's published a book called The Wim Hof Method, Activating Your Full Human Potential. It's a method that combines exposure to the cold with conscious breathing and the power of our minds. Here's a chance to catch this great love of life and love of love that Wim Hof communicates, and to learn a bit about how we can each bring some of the lessons of the Wim Hof method into our lives. This special conversation with Wim Hof. Wim, it is so awesome to be with you. It is so great to be with you. What a love light you are.
Yeah, so are you, and that's sort of an understatement. I mean, to shine such a light into the world through books, interviews, workshops. I don't know what you do with, but it's so much is really lifting up the awareness, the neurology, the consciousness of the people. And for that, I bow deeply to your work and to your being. Thank you. You're lovable.
Here we are together, and I want to start. We're going to get into the Wim Hof method, and I want to make sure that through the course of our conversation, we actually make sure our listeners understand what the Wim Hof method is and what its power is in the world. But I want to start, if you will, with, you ready for this? The light. You write about in the Wim Hof method how if we do this practice, you ready for this? We become the light. And I wanted to start there, Wim. What does that mean to you, becoming the light?
It's very simple. Our deeper physiology is connected to the all over control through our will over our neurology. And neurology is inside the brain, but then it's a wonders or throughout all over body, and it's electricity. It's electricity, protons, electrons going through the body, making us able to connect with that. But because we are so in comfort zone behavior, we got disconnected. And then the light is not so strong. While the light is sufficient to take on anything, we should shed our light upon, which should serve us in the realization of our beautiful soul. Without our soul, we stink in one day. So let's shed some light upon that. And that goes through a direct, deeper connection with the nervous system, which is composed by electrons and protons.
Okay, very good. And help me understand when you say we can control our neurology, our nervous system. I think a lot of times people feel, well, really, my nervous system, that's this thing that's happening to me. I'm not happening to it. What does that mean to you?
Exactly. For that, I do the studies. For that, I want to go bypass, transcend the philosophy and so-called doctrine saying, we are the light, we are the soul. Hey, where is it? I don't know. So I go through science. And in brain scans, suddenly we show that we have found the key components of the autonomous processes in the brain. Autonomous is outside of our will, but we found the key components to regulate our mood. To be light, not heavy, to be light, not in the dark. Those are not just words, they are real. Dark is like dark, there is no light, there is no energy. And heavy it is because we don't feel that lot of energy, which makes us able to defy gravity. So I go through the science and then show that we have a possible willful control to go to the deepest part of the brain, which makes us able to control our neurology far deeper, far thus better. Because nobody chooses unhappiness over happiness. Everybody would choose happiness if he only would have control over that what regulates his mood. And that goes through the control within our brain to the deepest of our brain towards all of our body. And that's now a fact. And through cold and through breathing, the neurology, the biochemical environment for neurology to be controlled and connected with the will has presented itself. The cold helps it, the breathing helps it, but we will explain that later. What I say, we are completely built to willfully control our electricity, the nervous system that is, to the level of the autonomous processes in the brain and body. That is the autonomic nervous system. And that is connected with the deepest part within our brain. And I say always, if you are able to connect consciously with the deepest part of your brain, then where else can you not go? And that is what we have shown in the best brain scans in the world. In Hanover, 100% neural activity activated at will. They never saw this before. And now this should have actually awakened a lot of more neuroscientific professors, doctors, investigators to see that we actually have willfully a possible control over 100% over our neurology, which is the brain and anything connected to with it.
So you're saying, Wim, that there have actually been scientific studies that you've participated in that have shown this. And yet, of course, still people are quite skeptical. They're like, oh, Wim, he's just some kind of Nordic god outlier. And yet there's science behind what you're describing. Can you tell us what are the studies that have shown the Wim Hof method is effective at controlling the autonomic nervous system?
Yes. If we go right now, at this moment, new data has been processed on 600 people doing these breathing techniques in cardiology. And it shows that the people doing these breathing techniques, they show to flush 5 times more blood into the brain and the heart. Willfully controlled. That is, with people with low current, electrical current in the heart, and that's a lot of people in the Western world, cardiovascular related problems, they, with 5 times controlled, in a controlled way, these breathing exercises, 5 times more blood flowing into the heart chambers is like boosting the electrical currents. And it works just amazing. When people do these breathing techniques, people feel amazing in the head and their body. Why? Because 5 times more blood is flowing into the brain and the heart. That's what they found. And another thing is, they said to me, the professors, that is Matthias Friedrich from Montreal, he is well known in the world of cardiology. He told me, Wim, do you know that every trauma we have as humans has a cardiovascular imprint? And now, because of these breathing techniques, we see extreme closure, contraction of the vascular system, the whole thing, cardiovascular system, and then an extreme opening. That if you do that enough, like for a long time, 30, 40, 45, 50 minutes, then extreme contraction and opening is like shaking the cardiovascular system, and thus we shake off the trauma. And that is the future of psychology and psychiatry as well, besides of cardiology, because doing these breathing techniques brings you into a much deeper level, a level we call the autonomic nervous system, which is the fight, the flight, the deepest of systems. And that is also where emotions are stored, trauma is stored, and this can all be shaken off through these exercises. So simple it is. Then another point is, with these specific breathing techniques, your pH level goes way up. And that's exactly the right biochemistry for the electrical currents of the nervous system to flush and to flow freely throughout the system to the deepest, to reach all cells.
Now, interestingly, you said 600 people were being studied who have been trained in the Wim Hof method. So it's not just any longer that scientists and researchers are studying you. They're studying everyday people who have been doing the Wim Hof method. That's a really important development.
Exactly. And they have no 20 or 30 or 40, 46 years of experience. I have. And I can teach them in a half hour. So It's not about me. I'm just a messenger. I'm not the circus artist. I did all kinds of extremes, etc. Yes, I'm a soul searcher. This is my path. But I found things that anybody can adopt. I found things that everybody is able to awaken within himself through science showing, and very accessible, very powerful. The autonomic nervous system is no longer autonomous. And that is through breathing exercises and a certain exercising within the cold, which exercises the cardiovascular system. Or let's just face it, cardiovascular related diseases is killer number one. How can we exercise the cardiovascular system? Through cold water. Cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. It is as simple as we say. And that is what I want to bring to the people, the gravity of a cold shower and some deep breathing brings us back to what we own. And that is our own body and own mind in deep connection.
Let's go into it a bit, both the breathing and the cold exposure, because I want to give people right here from this conversation some experiments that they can try. So in terms of the cold shower, keeping the doctor away, cold shower a day, you recommend a kind of gradual process that actually makes it, and I'll say this from personal experience, not so terrible, even for comfort-loving Westerners. We can do it. So describe that gradual process of cold exposure in the shower.
So we are actually mammals with clothes on. So there is no mammal outside that has clothes on. It's only us. That's possibly because we have so little hair, or covered skins. But the skin is the biggest, the greatest, the biggest, most largest organ in our body. That is our skin. And in our skin, there are all kinds of receptors. It's like 75,000 kilometers or miles long in every person. That is arteries, veins, and capillaries. So and everybody is like 75,000 miles inside. And that has millions of little receptors in our skin. Yet we cover ourselves up mostly and most of the day. That means destimulative behavior. That is comfort zone behavior, where we are dressed always and have a mediocre stimulation upon our skin. And thus it weakens. It doesn't give the right signals to our temperature receptors, pain receptors, to our blood circulative receptors. There are like maybe 20 kind of receptors in our skin. It's not just the skin, it's a lot more. It shows, is there danger? Is there cold? Is there heat? Do we have to, it is an information center which goes ultimately to our brain and makes decisions. And now we have wrong decisions because we think it is always nice weather. Well, it is not. It's always no danger. While it is not. We become half asleep. And that's logical. And then the cardiovascular system, which is all connected to all the skin, that becomes also on a low current, low signaling, low stimulation. And therefore, we have this problem in our society, which is cardiovascular related problems, killer number one. And it has a big contribution into any disease. So it's really conditionally connected with any disease, a low current, a low condition of our cardiovascular system while being dressed. This is the first thing I say to the people. Listen, the mammal physiology you have is beautiful. It's beautiful to feel alive. When you take a cold shower, you feel, you begin naturally to breathe deeply. You are not just comfort zone kind of a being. Yeah, real comfort, real power there is. When you go into the cold, then you have deep stimulation. Then afterwards, you feel like invigorated. You feel cleansed. You feel the vascular system, the millions of little muscles called the endothelium being exercised. And then the heart rate goes down 20 to 30 beats a minute, 24 hours a day. That means stress is out of your life. And the blood flow will be helped through the millions of little muscles in the right condition. That is the endothelium. And thus it reaches much better the cells by which you produce a lot more energy. That's why we feel always, whoa, oh, whoa, no, oh, afterwards. But first, we have to go past our conditioned body and mind. And that is, oh, it's terrible. So I said, hey, don't go shocking-wise into a cold shower. Go for 15 seconds and use your mind. The power of your mind is now there. This has been proven in Detroit, in brain scans, that only using your mind, you're able to influence the temperature impact upon your body. It has been shown. They got cold water on my skin. I was not moving, just using my mind, and the temperature of my skin did not go down. That is, everybody has this connection, only I got it exercised.
Wim, what were you doing with your mind during this experiment? What were you focusing? Were you visualizing?
Yes, I just told my body before, I want to make the difference. I don't know how, because I was the first one to show that in the brain scans ever. So I was not really sure what to do, but I was sure that I was going to give my best. And I was inside, I was tranquil. There is a real margin. It's not that you are focusing. No, your intention lasts. Your intention lasts when you have to, say, get on stage or get into a stressful situation. If you talk to yourself like a prayer, it goes, like an intention, and you feed into the intention, then suddenly a calmness comes over you. Your body understands what is going to happen, and you are ready. That is a new way of using our mind. It's like a bicycle which is outside your house, and but you never use it, and you go always in these fatiguing walks to your work, to this and that, because you don't know that you have a bike. But it's a beautiful bike. Our mind is really capable to address what is going to happen, even in the future. It goes past time and space. That is our trust, our confidence and belief. This is no longer just something abstract, it's neurology. And that neurology needs to be awakened. If we don't know that it is not ours, then we just go past. And so it always goes paired by somebody who is always the first one. When the first time somebody ran below the 10 seconds, then the year after, 15 people. What is that? That is just, hey, it's there, it's possible. So let's go for it. And then people feed into this. Now this aspect, to face stress and to deal with stress just by the power of intention, is far less than going within 10 seconds, 100 meters. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about is something natural. Anybody should be able to control stress just by using the power of his or her intention.
So if I want to start with the cold exposure and I want to use my power of intention to make my way from 15 seconds at the end of a hot shower, for me, I'm going to take a real hot shower, and then at the end, I'm going to give it 15 seconds of cold, then a couple days later, 30, I'm going to build all the way up to 2 minutes. Now there's a certain point where it actually becomes enjoyable instead of terrible. But talk to that person who's not yet at that point. It's not enjoyable yet. They're starting it, they're experimenting with it, and they're like, God, I really don't like this. I want to do a spiritual practice, a health practice that I like. You know, there's that place where you end up liking it, but what if the person's not there yet, Wim?
For those people, I say, listen, the investment of 2 minutes to reach the point where you are able to go with a cardiovascular system improved to a natural condition, being able to go in for 2 minutes without any problem, that is your true investment for when you get older, and 60, 70, 80, 90. My oldest participant is 101 years, and they love it. Why? Because this really goes past all the ailments, all the stress kind. If you don't go to the cold, then the cold comes to you. If you don't go to the stress comes to you. If you don't address the disease will come to you. This is a perfect way to deal with this, all these fatum kind of influences in our life we don't know, we try to hide, but they still come. Hey man, with this one, with the cold shower, you cut it all out of your life, and you feel much more energy than ever, because this trains the inner works, the inner physiology, the blood flow, the 75,000 miles inside, millions of little muscles. Your energy will go way up, and the heart rate goes way down. That is what you get. Instead of this, stress, low energy, high energy, low stress. So know that to begin with. as a motivation. Hey, wow, I want that. Because in the end, it is natural for your mammalian physiology to be able to go for 2 minutes at ease. I saw 80 years and 90 years, and they only started. And very soon they could go swim in icy water outside in the winter. And they feel just bloody, and it's about the blood flow, bloody great.
Now, I realize when we're talking about this cold exposure at the very, very, very beginning level, we're offering kind of like just a way to get started. Now, you yourself, you do an actual ice bath on most days. Yeah? Tell us about that. What are you doing with an ice bath?
Oh, yes. I have a chest freezer, and I filled it up with ice water, and then have it frozen. And then I go in every day, regardless. And sometimes, last time I became 63 in my birthday in April the 20th. I became 63. I went in for 63 minutes.
Whoa.
Just to celebrate the power of my mind and my body at my age. And nobody's able to do that. What is this? This is exercise. Exercise. Just if you do it every day, then that power, which is so horrible, it becomes your power. It's amazing how that gets to you. And then you really become quite invulnerable. You get so much energy. You got so much lust for life. And inflammation goes down. The darkness goes away. You are fully in the light. You are fully in connection with the whole of the nervous system, the electricity system of the body. And your energy levels go way up. So I just want to change the world. And I need my body, my vessel, and I'm doing it. Together with the help of you, Tami. And you deserve a Grammy, Tami, and more for what you do. I told you in the beginning, there's bringing uplifting consciousness, the perception, which in the end is neurology, is the light. We all want to become light. We all want to become in connection with the purpose of our life in the deepest. And with that, we realize we have a soul, and that wants to realize its light, shine, and be radiating. And that's what we do. That's what I do when I go into an ice bath.
Okay, yeah, let me ask you. So there you are, you're in an ice water bath for 63 minutes. What's happening for you, Wim, during that time? What's going on for you? Are you focusing on something? You just relaxing? Like, what's happening?
Actually, I was quite relaxed. I thought, I also know fear. Fear is a good signal. It is a signal that makes you very alert, that makes your adrenal axis going. So you are ready. But then I had a little fear, like, hey, what if those thoughts, little of those came to me. But then once I was in, wow, it was a party. I was actually celebrating my birthday in a joyous, gay kind of way. I'm happy, I'm here, I'm singing, I'm in control. I'm in bloody great control that I'm able to be happy and joyous while being confronted with one of the most extreme aggressive impacts, icy water upon me. And I astounded myself, actually. And right now, I'm into the power of the mind and to see how that works. Not just muscle power, no, just the power of the mind. And it's amazing what it can do. And I'm venturing in new areas. The big thing now is to pass it on, to tell people about the benefits of icy water, cold water, into their lives. Really, anybody who takes up within 10 days, he will get into a natural condition within 10 days of his cardiovascular system. And with that, inflammation goes down, the connection with the neurology is there, much more energy, much less stress. It's all there. And this should be taught in primary schools, because this gives us much more confidence within our bodies and mind.
Okay, so Wim, I'm not ready for the full-on freezer chest ice bath, but I do think that along with many of our listeners, we could experiment with an ice bucket immersion of some kind. What would you recommend there as a next step after the cold showering?
After the cold shower, say 2 minutes, you are able to do a couple of minutes into icy water in the winter. But in between there is the ice bucket. And the ice bucket is very able to train the hands, the extremities of hands and feet. And a lot of people have problems with that, because the physiology, the blood flow circulation physiology of the hands and the feet is different than the rest of the body. So it's a great learning moment we can get by learning to get to 2 minutes hand immersion into icy water. You learn to focus, to connect, because in the end, the blood flow circulation system in us is a closed circuit. It's all connected. So if you train this, you train the whole body. So get your mind together and go within that. Focus that is able to connect with the hypothalamus, which is the thermoregulator inside the body, which is also the hand. It's everywhere. And learn that you are able, just by using the mind, to make a difference already in your hands, your feet. And if you can do it over there, you can do it anywhere. That's what you learn out of it. And now physically, going 2 minutes in the icy water after the 10-day challenge of 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45, 1 minute, up to 2 minutes. Around that, then going into an icy ice water bucket challenge for 2 minutes is really a great step. And from there, you learn really to control this great stressor, the icy water, upon the physiology. And with that, you learn that you are able to go much deeper and differently into your own physiology and retrieve what has been hidden through our comfort zone behavior. This deep primordial power comes to you. And then you feel in the wintertime, hey, but I'm the boss here. I can swim outside. And oh yeah, look at me. And being completely poised, like in the eye of the hurricane. Stress all over, and you're in control. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Now, Wim, as I mentioned, there are 3 pillars to the Wim Hof Method, and we've introduced cold exposure and also a little bit about the power of the mind. The 3rd pillar has to do with breathing. We're going to get there in a moment, but before we do, I want to ask you a personal question, which is, as I was carefully reading the new paperback edition of the Wim Hof Method.
How's it going?
It's going well. People love it. And, it has so much pass around. People saying to other people, you've got to get the book. You've got to try the cold exposure combined with the conscious breathing. You have to do it. And, health professionals, etc. Okay. Here's my personal question, though, Wim. You talk about in the book your own birth and how it was you were a hidden twin, that your mother, when she gave birth to your twin brother, didn't even know that you were in the womb at the time, and how that actually, you hint at this, how that connects to your own love of the cold. And that's what I wanted to understand more about, because here you are, you're such a unique person, bringing cold exposure to righteous cold to the people. How did that link actually to your very own birth experience?
I think it is the love for my mother. In the end, but as a baby, hidden, I was so deeply within my mother. Well, I was one of the identical twins, but they only found out almost too late there was another one. So they pushed the bed toward the operation room because I was too deep in. I had to be getting out through a cesarean because I was suffocating inside. And I came with the words of my mother just before arriving into the operation room. I came to the world with the invocation of my mother saying, "Oh God, let this child live. I will make him a missionary." She was pious, naive, but don't mess with a mother in fear to having a baby who is protecting the love of her over her baby, invocating to what she thinks is a higher power, God. And that's exactly what happened. I came to life, into this light, as a purple nothing with those words. And those words are really imprinted on my soul. And therefore, that makes me, and I'm connected right now with my mother, with God, with the light. And that sounds all wishy-washy maybe, but I feel it very strongly that the purpose of my mother was to bring me. Because 48 years later, I was in New York and got a telephone of Dr. Ken Kamler with the results of the blood of a vagus nerve experiment to show what nobody had shown before, how to influence deeply into the vagus nerve, which means that if you do what nobody had done before, and I did, because the results showed, the blood results showed, is when Dr. Ken Kamler said, "Wim, if you are able to reproduce this in a comparative study, then that means huge consequences for human mankind." Then he named all these diseases. When you are able to control or influence deeply into the vagus nerve, as I had done, then all these diseases would cease to be so severe and so dangerous. And then at that moment, my mission was born. At that moment, I became a missionary. A half hour later, I got a telephone call of my family saying, "Wim, your mother died. She collapsed." You see how that is connected? Is that a story? Is that coincidence? I don't believe it. I believe in purpose in life. And this is my purpose, to be a missionary and show therein through science, through rigid science, that these techniques coming from the soul surgeon somewhere in nature, because in the books it was not, and now is available for every person in the world. And for that, I have to thank you again with your platform, making me able to bring it about in this Wim Hof Method book. And now with the first chapter of Going Into the Depth, which is actually a new revolution, a revolution wherein we show to go into the deeper part of our physiology and own what is ours. A man who's in control of himself, a human, I mean.
Sure.
Man, women, doesn't matter. A human in control would choose happiness, health, and strength, and not some substitutes or alternatives, because nothing is as much value as happiness, strength, and health. A happy man doesn't go to war. A happy man is not into possessive thinking. He is simply there. And it's time that we bring it about. And that is this podcast, the book, and the coming books all about. I keep that goal. And that is because I love my mom.
Wim's referring to his next book, which sounds true, after the Wim Hof Method, Into the Depths, coming out in a couple of years now. We're working on it in the process. Now, Wim, you said something very interesting, that you sense your mom right now and that, oh, that could be woo-woo or something, but that you feel it. And, I think this is an important idea to help this be very real for people, this experience. Tell me what you experience right now, your mother's presence.
Oh yeah, so come on, that is very powerful, very strong, very here and now, and without once again, like in the earlier phase of this conversation, we talked about, hey, if we have no soul, we stink in one day.
Because we're dead flesh. We're dead flesh.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we are not just flesh. We are a soul, and that's why we are alive. And those souls are unbreakable. They are forever. So my mother has no body at this moment, but I can feel her directly. I can feel the purpose. I can feel the understanding. And I'm a man of fact. I'm a man who works on a millimeter. I'm not into superstition or anything like that. I love science. I want science. I welcome, I intrigue, I tease all the scientists of the world to prove me wrong. But it doesn't begin when we are born, and it doesn't end when we are going to pass on. And the other thing is, when we catch on with what our predecessors, our ancestors, our mothers and fathers have been telling us out of love, then we are the ones to embody it and to bring it on and to make progress. And I only want to, I'm like, fuck enlightenment. Sorry that I say that in that way. It's so self-indulgent. I want to heal the world. I want to heal my friends, my babies, the women, the men, the living beings, live in harmony with nature. That gives me salvation of my soul. That gives me development of my soul. I'm not into this self-indulgent being. I train hard. I do go into my ice baths and etc. because I want to preserve this vessel to be strong. But my message is happiness, strength, and health. That is love. That is for me to bring to this world. And I will push it all the time. Through the books together with you. You do it through your platform. Amazing light work you do. People should be not ashamed to say, I'm a warrior of the light. I am there. I'm not here in doubt and maybe I can say this, maybe. No! When you are in love, you fly. You have no inhibition. You go like a child. And children are innocent. Let's be innocent again. You know, Enigma, the music, return to innocence. You know, beautiful music they make, but it is actually a fact. Without the soul, we are like zombies. Let's be alive and live in the soul from the deepest here and now and become kings and queens. All. And we saw this too, Tami. Kings and queens, the symbol for kings and queens is the corona, isn't it? The crown.
Yes.
Now, the corona, and I'm talking about the virus, that has been, but let me tell you, there's some new news, that is the corona radiata. The corona radiata is the radiant crown. Those are nerve endings. In yoga, they are called the crown chakra. But now, within a half hour, we can activate those nerves. And thus, the crown chakra, the corona radiata nerve ended. And this is a full statement of Dr. Kevin Tracy, who is healthcare man number one in New York State. So he wants now me in the panel with the greatest of professors in, where is it, in San Diego, in March coming year. I mean, he knows, I know. He knows that what we have found is the future. It only needs to be translated into general understanding because the science needs to build up. The science is, I don't know, the existent establishment and hospitals, and they cannot even fend off invisible enemies like virus, bacteria, and depression, which is darkness. That's where we come in. We have natural tools to face all these invisible enemies. That's the way we are built in the depth of ours. Nature has been over millions of years made us so sophisticatedly to be able to, what we even cannot see, defy and fight through our will. That's the power of the mind. And now, that's where we go. So we go where nobody has gone before. That's what we do, because we are fearless in what we do. We want to venture, we want to discover, like a child.
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting to me, Wim, that you use this metaphor of the crown on top of our head as a king or a queen, or,
Yes.
and it's so powerful. And, it's easy to see the crown that you wear in your sovereignty and power and empowerment inside. But what's interesting is I think you're pointing that all of us have this inner king, queen inside. And I wonder if you can just speak more about how that's a product of practicing the Wim Hof method.
It is. It wasn't me even. It was Dr. Kevin Tracy, who's an authority in immunology, and he's got a whole institute, biochemical institute. He's the most down-to-earth man you can ever think of. And he told me, after we did the studies here in the Netherlands, we're injecting E. coli bacteria inside, that the processes in the brain, he was looking at the studies and peer reviewing, examining, and then if you do that, then inflammation goes down. That means you activate the vagus nerve. And wait a minute, the vagus nerve, once you begin to willfully activate the vagus nerve, then you activate all the white nerve endings called the corona radiata, which is the radiant crown. He told me it's only a result of logical deduction. And now it's there. This is the way you should feel. When you go out, when you are in love with somebody, you feel like a king. You feel like a queen. Because you are stronger than matter. You are stronger than the world. No obstacle can hold you back. That is the power of love. So if you feel, when you go into the court, then this power comes to life, because all systems begin to work, and they enlighten what normally in our conditioned, narrowed mind is not able to be fed in with the right blood flow and neural activity. And now it does. And it's so simple, and it's there. And then it is a question of, what do you choose? Do you choose this abundance of energy coming out of you and flowing? Or do you choose to go back to your conditioned way of life? The thing is, we have found this deeper control, this higher control, and change our consciousness. We are not dogmatic therein. We bring people, this is a tool, and this tool is able to bring you past your conditioned mind, more than in science was even thought possible. But science serves development. Science serves growth. And in the end, it is for the growth of humans to get into a higher consciousness, which is nothing more than logical. And it's no longer just religious. It's just the nature of neurology, or to broaden, to go more, to, like a child, keep on. It's stronger than your boredom, than your thoughts, to go past in your time, space, consciousness, your ego. Now you can go past and understand the omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotency. And that is the full range of your brain, which we have shown in Hanover, in the best brain scans of the world. 100% activity, neural activity, willfully activated, means your brain now is at your disposal. What do you do with it?
Mm-hmm. Now, when we have to talk about the breathing, because this is such an important part of the Wim Hof method, and you discovered it through the cold exposures. The cold taught you the breathing. Can you explain that?
Yes. Imagine you go for the first time into icy water. like that, involuntarily. It wants to go and breathe deep. This is what it has taught me, to breathe deep, and therefore activate all systems inside to be able to adapt to the aggressive impact. The body is able to do that, but our conditioned shallow breathing is not able to feed into the mechanisms that need to be fed into to make them work. The blood flow needs to become alkaline. Alkalinity is the way that the neurology goes fast, the electricity, the neurotransmitters inside the body who signal and make things work. They go best when the body's pH level goes up. This happens through deep breathing.
And basically, yeah, go ahead. You can describe, I mean, the breathing, the way you describe it is pretty simple to describe.
Yes.
These full inhalations, natural exhalations. You recommend people do that something like 30 to 40 times. So I wanted to, as the first step here of the breathing process, and I wanted to ask you about that because I notice sometimes when I do it in the middle of the day, I'll breathe like 5 or 6 full inhales, and I already feel a little like I can feel the lights turning on inside. I don't make it all the way to 30. What do you think about that, Wim? Is it important? And then you suggest we go all the way, 30 to 40, big inhales, natural exhales, and then we let the breath out, and we don't breathe in for a while.
Yeah. Yes.
You call that
this
is very important. Yeah, explain this. Yeah.
Okay. For example, I have people, CEOs, who sit a long time behind a computer, and brains are like muscles. They get sore. If there is a lot of neural activity constantly going on, like running, you become sore. In the brain, the blood becomes sore. And then they become sluggish. I hear this of these people coming to me. And then I do 20 minutes of this breathing. They take 20 minutes just for themselves, deep breathing. Fully in, letting go. Fully in, letting go. Fully in, letting go. Fully in, letting go. If you keep on going like 30 times, then you blow off the carbon dioxide. That is the acid inside the body. Suddenly goes way down. pH level goes way up. That means when the pH level is up, you don't need to breathe. It's only when the carbon dioxide, the CO2 in the body is high, is when you breathe. That is a breathing trigger. So we bring it down. And so after 30 deep breaths, the pH level is way up. And then last up, you stop breathing. And you don't need to breathe because the pH level is very up. So it takes a minute or 1.5 minutes. It's 90 seconds, 100 seconds, and you don't feel the force to breathe. What happens is a lot of biochemical processes inside the body. The body is going to be reset. 5 times more blood will flush into the heart and brain. Adrenal axis is spiked at that moment, just for a moment to reset the body. And if you do this a couple of rounds consecutive, then you will be very easy. Doesn't matter the age, 70 years, 80 years, even 90 years, for 2 minutes or 2.5 minutes without air in the lungs in 3 rounds. That happens. And what happens then is that you pH level goes way up. You become very alkaline. And then those people, those CEOs, have been working all day, very sluggish in their mind. Suddenly, they are fresh like chickens again. And that's amazing. So everybody will feel that the mist, the clouds in the head, they are gone. And wow, what a wonderful day. And that's the afternoon. So it's really worth to do this. because it will make the productivity, effectivity, the sharpness of your mind, the clarity, all that goes way up.
Okay, so after these 30 inhales, as you just described, letting go, then you let the breath out and you let it stay out. I'm curious, when you do this breathing, how long does the breath stay out? Have you ever timed yourself, like the longest amount?
Oh yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, and how
I,
long?
I
How
did
long? How long, friend?
in the beginning, I did it for 5 to 7 minutes under the ice.
Whoa.
So I did it in icy water. If you exercise, you are able to go really far. And so that's what I did. I'm a soul searcher. So I have been challenging myself, going in shorts up to Mount Everest to the death zone without oxygen in just my shorts when it is very cold and less than half the oxygen there. Those are all breathing exercises, actually. It's learning how to control oxygen, even when there is little. That's amazing what we can do without, then the power of the will comes in. So at the start, I did 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes without breathing. So 5 to 7 minutes every day, regardless, and no force. Under the ice, that's what I did. And then after a time, I began to separate the breathing and do it at home without the icy water. And then at home, let me tell you, Tami, I saw all the chakras, all the colors, all the geometric patterns, anything that what was in the esoteric books, I saw it all. The transformations, the trauma release, the 3D, the DMT, all. And I've been doing that for 25 years on my own because it was like crazy. It's like the Kundalini fully on. And yeah, just serving me. I felt that's why I never felt sick. I had always all the energy. And this was actually the great answer after I lost my wife in 95 through a suicide. I had all the energy all the time for my 4 kids to grow up, and I had no money. So it hasn't got to do with money and power. It's the power within, the unconditional power. And that is able to be unlocked through these breathing techniques. So there is no excuse therein. Anybody can adopt these breathing techniques and show it for themselves. You know, feeling is the real proof. Feeling is the real understanding. We are just offering through this book, through stories, through signs, we are showing something that can be owned by any person in the world. And that is a much deeper control within the existed natural physiology anybody has to become happy, strong, and healthy.
Now, Wim, I just want to talk a little bit more about this long exhalation without inhaling again, this space that you're able to occupy for upwards of 5 minutes. Even for us who are new to this, if we are able to be in that space for a minute, something like that in our practice at home, help people see the kind of stillness of the mind, what's possible in that space where you've exhaled and you're not breathing in again for a period of time.
Exactly. This is what happens. Physiologically, more blood will be flowing into the heart and brain, which gives finally past our conditioned blood flow, the right nutrition to get into the deep brain, to deep sensations in the heart. That is physically going on. In the nervous system, it is the deep stimulation and activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the peace. Because after exhalation and not breathing, that is completely without action. There is no breath, there is no oxygen, there is no air. Nothing is feeding into the active mode of the nervous system. And suddenly Therefore, after 30 seconds, 40 seconds, you feel such a stillness. And that is that goes deeper than people exercising for 4 hours a day mindfulness for years. It has been compared in brain scans. So this deep activation of the peacemaker, the deep peace, the regeneration, the rehabilitation, the peace, the deep peace within us, where mind is getting into deep stillness, where the blood flow goes suddenly into the deeper areas of the brain, like a cloud, it descends because there is no action going on. That is the result of going into retention after the exhalation. And it is amazing. Anybody can do it because anybody should be able to own the ability to become still anytime.
And then just one further question about this, because I think this space in the exhale, this retention phase, and being in that space and the discovery that can happen, you point, Wim, to the possibility also of this helping us with our intention and purpose in the world, that in that space we can plant the seed of the impact we want to make in the world. Can you talk some about that?
Yes. It's like when you are in too much action, it will be swiped away, this little seed of our neurotransmitter activation, our willful intent. It's a little, very subtle current. And that within the stillness created is able to land into the soil of eternity. And eternity only exists because time and space exists. We are able to go past time and space and sense it, sense who we are and what we are, our purpose, and it really has the ability to listen to what we as humans want, our deepest wish. It's no longer somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. It's in us. It's here. And through the breath, we go unprecedented deep into stillness, where we learn to feel that our intentions are heard, that prayers are being heard.
And I think I'm emphasizing this here as we come to the end of our conversation, because right now at this time, I think a lot of people are feeling so concerned about the state of humanity and so concerned about the ecological challenges we're facing, the divisiveness in our world. And they want to help, and yet there's a feeling, I think, in many people of powerlessness. And yet here you are with a crown, a being of light, saying that we have the power, we can go into that space and become empowered by it to bring our souls forward. And I want to end on that note, Wim, of your recommendations for how people can see this particular time we're in and find their own empowerment.
Yes, the old paradigm is ceasing to be. That's what is happening now. And it looks like our safety is gone. But this is the opportunity, the opening up for us to go past our conditioned mind, coming from the wrong schooling. I mean, the schooling that serves a system that is polluting the world, that is serving only a couple of people who have all the power, where famine, disease, cruelty, abuse, wars, etc. are going on. These leaders are not able to govern over this world. We have to learn to govern over ourselves. We have to learn and become the kings and queens within ourselves to own our sovereignty of the purpose of this earth, of this planet where we live. We have to awaken to the purpose of that. And that is love. Love is the future, living in harmony with nature, outside, inside, and it is there for everybody. That's why I'm doing the signs, to not just have hollow expressions of, hey, let's go, flower power. And no, get high on your own supply. You don't need drugs of the outside. You don't need the external world. You need this subtle little connection within called faith, which is now a neurological connection. Professor Music from Detroit is saying in the book of Scott Carney, an investigative journalist, Wim Hof has found the secret of placebo. And the healing within us, we are in charge of that. And with the healing in us, the healing of our children, of our friends, and all living beings on this earth. It's time to awaken to a great future wherein paradise will manifest. And we are all in it. What is your choice?
I just want to say, Wim, every time I talk to you, you are this contagious love light that I catch. So I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
And thanks for bringing your love with the crown and sovereignty on your head and the power of your mind with your mother's love coming through you to the world. Thank you so much, Wim.
Thanks, Tami. Thanks. I really respect and bow deep for your work. Thank you. And for your being. Absolutely.
Thanks everyone for being with us. Sounds true. Waking up the world. Thanks for listening to Insights at the Edge. You can read a full transcript of today's interview at resources.soundstrue.com/podcast. That's resources.soundstrue.com/podcast. If you're interested, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app. And if you feel inspired, head to iTunes and leave Insights at the Edge a review. I absolutely love getting your feedback and being connected. Sounds true. Waking up the world.